It's 27 years after the assassination of Kudirat Abiola, and activists have continued to commend her active participation in fighting for democracy and inspiring millions of women and youths. Human rights activist Joe Okeodomaki described the late Mrs. Abiola as a hero of democracy, whose values defined womanhood, humanity, and dignity. Kudirat Abiola became a tireless advocate for Moshood Abiola's freedom after he was jailed over charges of treason. She was a strong pillar of the National Democratic Coalition, which was engaged in a fierce struggle for the restoration of the June 12 presidential mandate, which was annulled by the Babangida military administration. Well, let's talk more on this. We have joining us from our Abuja studio, the son of late Kudirat Abiola, Abdumumuni Abiola. He joins us from our Abuja studio to give us a sense of what today means for him. It's good to have you join us on TVC News this hour.
Thank you for having me.
Well, 27 years ago, today in broad daylight, on June 4, 1996, a point-blank shot in the head snuffed the life out of Alaja Kudirat Abiola, the wife of Chief MKO Abiola, your mother. And I wonder, how do you feel today? Would you say justice has been served on those responsible for her death?
Oof, wow. First of all, yes, today is a day that I try not to want to remember, because it was a day that my mother was taken away from me. When it comes to life, no matter whatever justice you get, it doesn't bring the person you lost back. So I don't know if necessarily I will call it, justice. I'll call it maybe atonement, maybe something just to placate your grief. But then again, as a Muslim, we're not even supposed to think that way. We're supposed to think that Allah has a plan for everything that He does. And since that is the case in my situation, I just pray that Allah accepts her and forgives her for any of her sins. And I think that's all we can do. And like I said, when it comes to people being punished for any loss or anything, I think that is also something that we're still looking for, because I don't think the issue itself has actually been appropriately addressed. But then that is not to say that steps are not being taken to rectify the situation.
Pretty interesting point. But if your mom was alive today, what would you say? What would you say she would think about Nigeria's democracy and Nigeria's politics today, considering she's been regarded as one of the heroes of democracy here in Nigeria?
You said, she was a member and a leading member of the pro-democracy movement, especially after the annulment of the June 12, 1993 elections. She worked with some of the key members of government today. She worked with them personally, and privately as well. So I believe that there's the light, when you say there's a light at the end of the tunnel, kind of this phrase that goes around. I believe that, if my mom were to be here now, she would probably be, very optimistic, just like I am, in the administration of Bola Ahmed, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, His Excellency. I believe that she will feel that, being he was also a member of the pro-democracy movement back then, he understood and understands what they were trying to accomplish. And in his administration, he will also be able to, move the needle forward, in securing and protecting this democracy that a lot of people died and paid, some not necessarily, some with blood, like in the case of my mother and my father, and then some with financial losses and, psychological damage. We can't really put a price on these kind of things. So for me, I am happy that this democracy is still strong. It might be weak in some parts, but I believe it's still strong, and I believe that inshallah, God will also bless the president to see some of his programs through. He came up with this slogan of renewed hope. Renewed hope would have only come from one place, and it would have started from hope. So the hope aspect was what my mom and my father died for, and I believe that this renewed hope is a way of rekindling that drive and that idea of a country that will work for all, poverty eradication and things like that. So I'm very hopeful, and I'm sure that when you have the likes of His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is a businessman and a savvy politician at that. And then you have the First Lady, Senator Remi Tinubu, who's also a senator, like almost I think four times senator. I think that's like a record, And then you have Senator Sitim Kasima as his his vice. Inshallah, the sky is the limit, and I think what I would like to do, especially in this moment, and as we're remembering my mom's sacrifice and other people who sacrificed their lives and wealth in this pursuit, we should also remember that the only way we're going to move this country forward is if we all come together and work towards a better Nigeria. So I think that's the only message I have to the government of today and basically to Nigerians as a whole.
When you say that there are some parts of our democracy that seems weak, I know and I understand that we have to hold on to hope here in Nigeria to see the Nigeria that we dream of every day. I want you to help us better understand some of these aspects that you say is weak in our democracy, and how optimistic should we be in this present administration? That's the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Okay, well, when I talk about the parts of the democracy that I think are kind of weak, I first of all would hit, you see, democracy is about inclusion, it's about the people's voice. And part of what I think that is weak is the aspect of, having people, maybe you have 66 million people with voters cards, and then the amount of people who actually turn out to vote are like basically the minority. These are the parts I'm talking about. Democracy only works when when more people are involved. Because the more eyes that are watching something, the less, and then the less opportunities for things to actually go astray. So I think so when I talk about democracy being weak, I am just saying to myself that, look, if I can encourage more people to engage in this process, to feel like this is their own project. The more people, if this elections were, I think we had like maybe 20 million total voting outreach out of how many million people in the country. So I would encourage Nigerians that the only way you're going to get the dividends of democracy that you want is by first of all participating. You get involved. You put your hand. It's like going to a farm. If you don't get your hand dirty, you're not going to grow anything. You have to. So this is how we have to encourage or strengthen our democracy by participation. So that's where I will first of all talk about weakness. And then when you talk about what I think about this government and their prospects, think about it for yourself. It is only in a country like Nigeria that it will take someone like Tinubu 30 years to come and become president. Why did it take so long? It's like, my father used to say it, you're trying to save somebody's head in their absence. You cannot do it. It doesn't make any sense, because what had happened was in 1999, they wanted to appease the Southwest. They wanted to go and bring Baba Obasanjo to come and do president. Okay, he did what? 8 years, and what did he do? Nothing. He brought his own brother. He brought a brother from the north. Apparently, the man wasn't in his best health. May Allah bless his soul, the late Yadua. These are certain things that we should take into account. He came, he did his, Jonathan did his. What I am saying that is only in the country like Nigeria that the best hands are not the ones at the ends of affairs. Today, it is not the case at all. We have seen what Asiwaju was able to do in Lagos State, and how he was able to set a trajectory. Now, Lagos State is the bride of the whole of Nigeria. If there was no Nigeria, Lagos would still exist. This is Asiwaju at work. So for me, I am not even looking towards that direction. I am saying that if anybody has anything productive to bring to the table, bring it to Asiwaju's table. He, like I said, was a businessman. If you bring a solid idea to him, he's not going to say, oh, I'm not going to do it because of some political reason. No. We can already see from some of the actions he's already making. He's not going to be just a rubber stamp president. He's going to be an active one, and I think he's already taken action. And let's just pray for his health. That's what we can say for. And God bless Nigeria, I guess.
Late Kudirat Abiola, Abdumumuni Abiola, thank you so much for joining.